Let's talk about batting today. In SA, we do have a little bit more limited variety of batting to pick and choose from, but we still have options. You don't have to work just with our lovely Loomtex polyester needle punch batting that's locally produced. There are more options available for you. And like I've just said, our Loomtex needle punch, it has a scrim base layer. You can see the little holes, the fibers on top that gets thrown. And this is ideal for our general quilts, baby quilts, play quilts, little lap quilts, because we don't have such a cold temperature in South Africa, but we do have people that require a quilt with more heat. And then also your batting choice would depend on what type of quilt it is you're making. Are you making a wall hanging? Are you making a bag? Are you making a bed quilt? Are you making a show quilt for show on your bed that everybody should look at but nobody should sit on, especially your husband? We have options. And like I said, not all battings, or maybe I didn't say that yet, not all battings are equal. We get a cotton batting, that's 100% cotton, but you will see that this batting is extremely thin, very, very thin, very low loft is what we'll talk about when we quilt. Oh, excuse me for that. We do get our blend, our polycotton blend, so it's 80% cotton, 20% polyester, in black and in natural. And this we have available in SA, and it is available on the website, handyquiltersa.com. Beautiful for when you are working with black background fabrics, especially, and black thread or dark thread, because it just avoids the possibility of any batting bearding through the back. So do know that we do have a really good quality. It's Hobbs that we import, Hobbs, and this is the blend, the Heirloom blend, cotton poly blend, available in black. This is the cotton poly blend in natural. I quite like this batting. It has a nice loft to it, but I don't often quilt with it as a single layer. There you can see the loft is at least a little bit more than the 100% batting. Sorry, 100% cotton batting. Let's keep them together. Can you see the difference? 100% cotton, which is this top one, is almost half the loft or the weight of the bottom batting. So a blend you'll find often in SA. And then this is a natural wool batting, which is just glorious to work with. And the one specifically that we have, this is our wool. Now the advantage of wool is that it gives you a nice warm quilt. The loft is beautiful. You will also see that though it may look like it's very thin, keeping in mind that this just came out of my batting basket all folded up, the longer you leave it uncovered and open to breathe, then it'll puff out again. I particularly love to quilt with the cotton batting, the wool batting, because of the weight. It's very lightweight. So if you struggle with wrists and joints, or if you have got a very big quilt that you would have a beautiful drape on but want to do a lot of quilting, then wool batting is fabulous to work with. You can quilt a lot, get beautiful loft, but not the weight. And it's nice and warm for those cold winters in... Where does it get really cold in South Africa? Sometimes in Joburg, but not so much anymore. But you know, if you need warmth, then wool is fabulous to work with. What I do often is that I do a double layer of batting. I'm going to carefully zoom, just move my camera, there we go, to the edge of the quilt that I'm busy with at the moment. Now this is, I'm assuming, going to be a wall hanging. But we're doing a double layer of batting for this quilt, and here we've done, what I've added is a single layer of polyester, our Loomtex needle punch, with the scrim to the back. Okay, why to the back? So that we can avoid bearding. Okay, scrim to the back, and then I have the Heirloom 80-20 cotton poly blend on top of it, so that I can get a really nice loft, but the poly batting gives stability to the quilt. So it's ideal for wall hangings. If you are going to work with just one layer of batting and you want a bed quilt, like I say, with a lot of quilting, nice drapeability would be your wool. If you are making, for instance, a bed quilt, you don't want to sleep under it necessarily. So that's going to be that show quilt where neither you nor your hubby is allowed to sit on the quilt. It gets carefully folded away before anybody enters the bed. Then you can even consider doing a double layer of your cotton poly blend or a cotton poly blend with a wool on top. Really gives beautiful texture and definition to your quilting. Then, of course, when I do handbags, really smaller, stiff wall hangings, that's never going to be a bed quilt or a throw quilt, placemats, anything like that, then the polyester batting is my go-to. 2 layers. If I do handbags, 3 layers. Easily. Your machine will glide through it. Just make sure that you always remember and look at the scrim and that you place the scrim towards the back of the quilt. And then another thing I need to just tell you is that batting reacts like fabric. So your natural battings, if a natural wool fabric is going to shrink, a natural wool batting will as well. So if you pre-wash your fabrics, pre-wash your batting as well. That's why my personal preference is not to wash anything. I like to do the whole quilt and then only do I wash it, because the batting will then shrink along with my fabric and it will pull the stitching in beautifully and give it really nice texture and puff to look at. We have a beautiful discount this month for you on our batting, on the cotton and the wool batting. When you purchase online, you get 10% discount. So have a look at the coupon that will be in this video a little bit later. There's a code that you need to put in. Remember to put your code in when you purchase your batting. Otherwise, you will not get the discount and I can buy more wine and chocolates. Have fun!
I thought I'd tell you a little bit about bobbins today, in case you're wondering. It's one of the things that we get asked quite often. So normally when you have your bobbin case, you get an aluminium or a steel bobbin that comes with it. And depending on the machine you have, you get different sizes. So a lot of the long arm machines have what's called an M bobbin, which is a bigger bobbin. It has about double the capacity of the smaller bobbins that you get in your domestic machines. Those are called L. So if you're looking and you see an M bobbin and an L, don't think L is for large, M is for, I don't know, medium, because L is actually the small size. M would be the bigger double capacity. So if you're buying bobbins, pre-wound bobbins, make sure you buy the right size. Because if you buy big ones but you only have a small bobbin case, you won't be able to use them. The good thing is if you buy small ones but you do have the M size, the bigger bobbin case, the small ones will fit in. It just means you don't have so much thread. So what's the advantage of using pre-wound bobbins? Well, if you look in front of me, I've got 8 different colors. They're all neutral blending kind of colors. And that's what I use. I very, very rarely wind my own bobbins. So any of these, well not any of them, but these, between them, you would be able to match or blend one of them with virtually every backing fabric that you will use. Unless you're doing a specific project where you really want, maybe you want a very contrasting colored thread or you want exactly that same color, then you would wind your own. For me, I love these pre-wound bobbins because they're wound. Remember, I'm lazy. I don't want to stand and wind my own bobbins. So I can just open my little stash that I have in the studio and take out the color that I want. When it's done, I take it out the bobbin case and I throw in another one. So it saves me a bit of time. The good part about them, they are precision wound because they're done by special machines. So you get a lot more thread on them. This one is a Magna Glide bobbin from Quilting. It's basically what I have in the front here, and you get 210 yards of thread on an M size bobbin, so you can quilt quite a long way before that one runs out. If I compare the two, here's an L size, this one only has 110 yards of thread on it, so having the bigger bobbin just means you can quilt further before that pesky thing runs out. I'm going to move the camera a bit closer and show you a few details. Your normal aluminium bobbin that you would get with your machine and your normal bobbin case. So this bobbin case has a check spring in the back, as they all do. Depending on the type of bobbin case you have and the age of your machine, if you have a reasonably older handy quilter machine, so say one that's 4 or 5 years old, they originally had different bobbin cases that had like a little metal finger in the back. You could adjust how much it stood up or lay flat, but you couldn't remove it. Now they have these bobbin cases with the sort of spiral kind of spring in them, so you just have to look at it differently and use them differently in different cases. So if I put my normal bobbin into the bobbin case, the idea is that there's a little bit of spring to the bobbin because it should push then the bobbin nicely into your machine and make sure that you have regular tension on that aluminium bobbin. Okay, so that's your normal bobbin. Let's see if I can get it out and move him out of the way. Alright, here now I have different pre-wound bobbins. These two are made by Quiltec. They're Magna-Glide bobbins, so they have a little magnet on them in the center. So you can see one side is black, circular in the center, that's the magnet side. The other side is colored. You hopefully can also see better here the difference in the L bobbin and the M bobbin. So the M bobbin is the bigger one that the majority of the long arm machines and all the handy quilters use. This one is also an M bobbin. It's just a different brand, and this one has cardboard sides on it. So it's got the same nice kind of thread and it has a cardboard side. It's entirely up to you which you use, totally a question of experimenting and seeing what works best for you. So remember, we're not here to tell you you have to do it this way, we're just here to show you the options. Me personally, I prefer the Magna-Glide bobbins. They just work really well for me. So the thing to remember here, if you've got that bobbin case with a little finger spring, you can't take it out. So you're just going to use your Magna-Glide in the same way. If you have this removable spring, then my recommendation is actually to take it out. I find that the thread from the bobbin tends to get caught around it and then it breaks. And it's unusual to have your bobbin thread breaking, but if I leave the spring in, I find it happens quite often. So it's annoying, and you can stop that thread from breaking just by removing the spring. So you just very carefully, I've got a little tiny tweezer here, you're just going to grab hold of it and just bend it that you can lift it out and take it out. Okay, so I'm going to put the magnet side into the bobbin case. There we go. And then just thread it as I normally would. And that's how I'm going to use that bobbin. So test your tension. This one is a little bit loose. It's lifting off of my hand, but yeah, maybe it's fine. Probably good. That's the kind of tension that you want in the bobbin. Then as always, you're going to go and do a little test on the side of your quilt and make sure that it balances with your top tension. Once you're happy, you can stitch away. When the one bobbin runs out, you just swap it in for another one. This little spring, he's kind of an important guy, so don't lose it. If you do take it out, put it somewhere safe, and if you're anything like me, make a note of where the safe place is, because when I want it, I won't be able to find it. Alright, so when you go back to using your normal aluminium friend, you're going to put that spring back into the case. So it has little tabs on the side that match up with tabs, little slots in the bobbin case. So again, be careful because it is delicate. You don't want to bend it out of shape, but you can just manipulate it. Oh, there we go, it bounced out the wrong side. Manipulate it till it goes back in, and then I can carry on using an aluminium bobbin. So just remember that the tension between the two is going to be different, and you will need to just, if you swap between an aluminium bobbin and a pre-wound bobbin, you would need to test your tension again. The other thing that I like about these pre-wound bobbins is they're wound with a sort of a thinner thread, a bobbin weight thread. So it's probably a 60 or a 70 weight thread, so it's thinner, it's finer. It blends into your fabrics more, and you get that much more on your bobbin just because it's finer thread. So have a little bit of an experiment, try some different pre-wound bobbins and see whether you like them. I hope you do, because for me they're an essential part of my quilting. I want to give you some tips about helping you level your frame. One of the things that takes us probably the longest whilst we are installing a machine is to make sure that the frame is put together correctly and that it is as level as possible. This means that you end up with less wobbles and bumps in your tracks, and it also means that your machine won't drift. So at the moment I'm holding on to the machine. If I let go, you can see that at the moment it's drifting backwards of its own accord. So that means that the frame is not entirely level. Most of it we will pick up as we do the installation, but over time your frame may well settle and it just needs a few minor adjustments. So it's easy enough to do. You can use the machine as your spirit level if you like, or you can use your own proper spirit level. But in this case, I can see the machine is drifting backwards, which means it's not drifting side to side, only backwards. So that means I need to adjust the feet on the back of the frame. So I'll reposition everything and I'll show you how I do it. So you officially have me on my knees. These are the tool, this is the tool that comes with your machine that you would be able to adjust your leveling feet with. You're going to use this notch on the side. I tend to use a spanner rather, I find it easier, so it's a number 16. So you remember my machine was drifting to the back of the frame, which means I need to lift this height. I need to make the frame a bit higher here. So if I want to do that, I need to turn it clockwise. If I want to lower the frame, I'm going to turn anti-clockwise. So I'm going to give it a couple of turns. So 1, 2, then I'm going to go back to my machine above and see, does it stop the drift or does it still need a little more? You can't see it, but it's still drifting a little bit towards the back, so let's go one more turn. There we go. And now if I just touch the machine, move it forward, it's not drifting backwards anymore.